I have been working my way through the book of Job, and particularly now in chapter 38 of the book of Job, we are reading the Hebrew, doing a grammatical analysis and translation into English with a commentary, a verse by verse running commentary. So we now are on verse 33. Excuse me. Going back to what Job has been challenged by God to say or to do or to understand, I should say. In this chapter, God is asking Job, can you understand and understand my creation? Were you there, Job, at the beginning when everything was created? And we see a lot of irony here. Furthermore, can you control the primeval waters? And also, Job, have you penetrated into the depths of the sea and earth? Do you understand light and darkness and where they come from and their home? Have you gone to the place where you understand the treasuries of the snow and of the hail? And can you understand, Job, basically the light and darkness and where they're from? Can you trace them back to their home? And now we come to chapter 38, verse 33. After asking Job if he could control the constellations and the Pleiades, if he can understand all of that, we now come to the heavenly, I guess we would say, clouds and lightning and rain. And so we're at verse 33, and what I'd like to do is give the vocabulary for these verses, the Hebrew, and then go into the text. We begin in 33 with the noun mishtar, which means to rule. It means rule. Av, cloud or dark cloud. A mass, a cloud mass, we could say. Shif'ah means abundance. Barak, lightning, or looking at the flashes of lightning. Tuchot means the inward parts, or that which is inward. Shikvi is a very, very interesting word. It's very hard to be dogmatic on it. And we'll talk about that when we come to that particular verse and word in verse 36. The word sometimes means cock, but it's probably here looking at heavenly celestial appearances, perhaps of the clouds. And then Binah is understanding. Shechak is cloud. And here it's like fine dust, picturing the clouds in that way. Nevel means a bottle. And God will ask Job, can you pour out from rain from the bottles of heaven, like a skin bottle, or possibly a pitcher? Mutzak means a casting or a molding. And then rekev is like a clod of dust turning into a clod after the rain. So I want now to go through the text and begin to look at the grammar along with a running kind of a commentary. So we begin in 33, where Job is being asked the question, Hayadata hukot shamayim im tasim mishtaro va'aretz? Do you understand the ordinances of the heavens? Can you place or establish its dominion on the earth? Notice here we begin with the interrogative hey preceding the verb. Yadata is a cow perfect second masculine singular from yada. So do you understand the chukot meaning ordinances, and it's in construct with shamayim here. Notice ot is your feminine plural of chok, meaning ordinance, and chukot puts it into the feminine plural in construct with shamayim. So do you understand the ordinances of the heavens? And then, do you establish im tasim mishtaro va'aretz? Can you establish or place its dominion on earth? Notice here, tasim is the cow perfect second masculine singular from sim, to place or set. And mishtar means or dominion or rule, and o is your pronominal suffix, third masculine singular. So Job is being asked here, are you able to establish the rule of the heavens and what's going on upon the earth? It's interesting in this particular verse. Job, do you know the sun, the moon, the stars, and the laws which govern their existence and their movement? That seems to be the question. Can Job establish the dominion of the heavenly bodies in producing the seasons of the year, winter, summer, or fall, or the sun or the moon in ruling over the day and night? Can you, Job, understand those laws and how to run them? Only God can do these things. This is the question that Job is being asked. Then we move on to verse 34. Hatarim la'av kolecha v'shifat mayim techasecha, and we would render this, can you lift up to the dark clouds your voice, and the abundance of rain, that it may cover you? Notice here we have the question, the interrogative hey again, beginning in verse 34. And then notice the question is being asked, can you just lift up your voice to the dark clouds? Tarim is from the middle weak verb rum. It's a cow imperfect second masculine singular from rum. So can you lift up to the dark clouds your voice, and the abundance of rain will cover you? Notice here, shifat means abundance. It's in construct here with mayim, the abundance of rain, or the multitude of rain, two nouns in construct, that it will cover you. Notice here, techa secha is a PL imperfect second masculine singular followed by the pronominal suffix, second masculine singular in the cha. So can you take the abundance of rain and make it fall that it may cover you, Job? And of course, again, there's irony here. Only God can do this. So what Job is being asked, can Job call to the clouds and command them to rain? Do you have that authority, Job? That's what the writer here is saying, the author of Job. Then we come to verse 35, and we come to the lightning. Notice verse 35. Ha teshalach berakim v'yelechu v'yomeru lecha hinenu. Can you send forth lightning or lightning flashes that they may go forth and say to you, here we are. That is, we heard your command and here we are. Again, we have that interrogative hey here, and then teshalach. Notice we're looking at a PL, imperfect, second masculine singular from shalach. So can you send forth lightnings, berakim, and that they may go forth? Notice here the root is halak, and we have a cow imperfect, third masculine plural from halak. In other words, can you send forth lightning and they will then go forth and they will say to you, here we are. The yomeru is from amar. It's the cow imperfect again, third masculine plural from amar. This is sort of, again, a beautiful poetic imagery. Can you send forth the flashes of lightning and they go forth then, and then they say to you, here we are, we've done what you've asked us to do. Again, a lot of irony here. And I think, again, what Job is simply being asked, can he call for the lightning to send them forth? And they simply then will reply, here we are. We have fulfilled your mission. Of course, only God is able to do that, is the implication here. So then we move on to verse 36. Mishat betuchot chokmah, o minatan lesikvi bina. This is a very interesting verse. Who has put wisdom? And tuchot could be translated in the inward parts, but we're going to talk about that because that does not, some of this does not seem to fit the context. Omi natan lesikvi vina, or who has given understanding. And sikvi is really a word that people, scholars are not sure as to what that means. It possibly means something like a heavenly, can we say, phenomenon of cloud, certain cloud formations. So as we look at this particular verse, let me just go through it grammatically a bit and then talk about some of the thoughts. Mi sat, notice sat here is the cow perfect, third masculine singular from seat, a middle weak verb. So who has put in the inward parts, ba tu chot chokmah. Now what are the two chot? I appreciate again the thoughts of the Sonsino commentary on Job, Reichart. And what is stated here is this. This translation, the inward parts, does not seem to fit the context. The word to hod, rendered inward parts, occurs in Psalm 51:8 in that sense, which is derived from the root significance to be covered over. So he suggests the probable meaning here is the cloud layers as dark, hidden spaces, and refers to BDB or Brown, Driver, and Briggs. And that's possible, and that seems to make sense to me as well in this particular context, because we're talking about the clouds. And then the next phrase is really difficult because it reads, Ominatan lesikvi vina, or who has given understanding. Now, what is sikvi? This is another difficult word. I looked it up in BDB again, and they are suggesting some type of a heavenly phenomenon with the clouds. And it's interesting. There's a quote here again in the Job Sonsino Bible series that reads this way. If derived from the root sachach, to look out, it expresses the idea of a heavenly phenomenon, like a cloud formation. And then Reichart quotes from Peake. In any case, they possess wisdom, either in the sense that men can draw auguries from them, or that they may prognosticate the weather. That idea does seem to fit the context because we're talking about the heavenly elements. We're talking in the context about lightning and going forth, and no doubt clouds would fit then immediately into that context. And in terms of the inward parts, then, it is possible to see it as the cloud layers, as dark, hidden spaces, those inward parts relative to what's in the cloud layers. And then, as one gives study of the heavenly phenomenon of how clouds form and their formation, one is able to extract wisdom from it. That seems to be the thought here. Actually, the word sikvi can mean cock. And I don't know. I mean, maybe we're looking at cloud layers that have sort of animalistic formations to them, and they give understanding. At least that's the best that seems to be from what different authors are suggesting on this word sikvi. I was looking up in the Akkadian dictionary to see if I could get any insight there, and I couldn't find any. So I think that's the best that I can come up with following these other sources. A type of cloud formation that's being spoken of in this very rare word, sikvi. Then as we go on, let me just make one more statement here. Who is it, I think Job is saying, that enables man by such dark cloud formation to have wisdom to determine the weather, as well as other things I think we could add? So that seems to be the best I can do on this verse and the question that may be being asked. Then we move on to verse 37. Mi yesaper shechakim bechokma v'nivlei shamayim mi shashkiv. Who can number the clouds with wisdom? Who's able to number them? And I love this imagery here. And the bottles of heaven, who can cause it to lay down? And I'm assuming lay down and pour out rain. Notice here, yesaper is from the root safar, we could render this to relate or to number. Notice it's a it's a PL imperfect, third masculine singular from safar. With the shava pathak doubling of the middle radical, we're looking at a PL stem. So who can number the shechakim, the clouds, in wisdom? Who's able to do that? Seems to be the question here. And shechakim would be like fine dust. So that we could render it here the thin cloud, the clouds that are like fine dust. Who's able to number by wisdom these different clouds and understand them? Or, and then I love this imagery, nivle shamayim. Here we have two nouns in construct. Nivle, a plural noun in construct with the tseriyot, with shamayim. And so the bottles of the heavens. Notice here, nivle means bottle from nevel. It's like a skin bottle that would hold the rainwater. And so the bottles of heaven, who can literally cause them to lie down. So I think they're sort of like standing up, cause them to lie down, to pour out the water through the clouds, that it would rain. Notice yashkiv is from the root shachav, to lay down. Here we have a hifil imperfect, second masculine singular from shakav or shachav. So who is able to cause that to happen? And I love this verse. It's just beautiful picture, poetic picture. Who can number then the exact amount of clouds desired for a rainstorm, and then pour out the rain, which is metaphorically pictured in this verse as contained in heavenly skin bottles? Who can do this? Can Job do this? This seems to be the question that the author is seeking to communicate here. And then finally, in verse 38, as we continue, Bitseket afar lemutzak, u regavim yedu baku. That is, and the dust afar, into a mass, when the dust is poured forth or is molded, maybe we could render this, for the molding of the dust into a mass. This looks at after the rain falls and the dust clouds develop. Who's able to do that? Uregavim yedu baku, and the clods cleave to one another. Notice yedu baku is a puel imperfect, a third masculine plural from dabak. Same root word used, a man shall cleave to his wife, leave father and mother in Genesis chapter 2. And so the clods of dust cleave fast to one another. Who's able to cause the dust, when the rain comes, to turn and to mold itself, so to speak, into a mass, a clod, and cleave together into these clods? Who's able to cause that to happen? And again, I think God is challenging Job, who has been questioning his, can I say, sovereignty and what has happened in his life. Notice again, the question is, who but God could pour the rain down from heaven in the bottles, so to speak, and turn the dust of the earth into clouds of mud, is the thought here. Clods of mud, I should say. Who's able to cause that to happen? Again, only God. So this, to me, this is an amazing chapter. I've been working through it in previous videos up to this point, and it's the first time I've ever done it in the Hebrew text. Well, I've read it, but looking at it closely and trying to analyze everything grammatically as well as blending it with commentary. And I hope this is helpful. We will move on to leaving now, can we say, the work that the author has been working on here to begin a new topic in 38, 39 to 39:30. He's discussed the inanimate creation so far in chapter 38, 1 to 38. And now he will turn to the animate creation and let it pass before Job's sight. So I'm going to stop there at this point, and thank you, anyone who might be listening. I'm enjoying this in my retirement to work through this great text and think about the beauty of the poetry. Certainly, in my mind, the book of Job is probably the greatest piece of literature ever written. At least it's on the same level from a literary point of view as Homer or Virgil, Milton. I think it's wonderful. And the Hebrew just makes it so vivid to me too as I reflect upon it. And I hope it's helpful to someone else. Thank you very much.